Hello, everybody. Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome back to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
And I'm your host, Cody Van Salem.
Cody, we are going to start off. Obviously, we're going to take a look into Colorado and K-State. But first off, we got to give the women's basketball team some credit, man. They are on a roll right now. I Bleav that's their third one in a row. They went on the road and beat Texas Tech in Lubbock, and some history was made. Um, Audie Crooks scored her 2000 point yesterday, and Jada Williams scored her 1000th point yesterday. So a very, very historic day for the Cyclones, and a huge win on the road.
Yeah, and then also with history, you forgot to mention one thing. Bill Fennelly officially passes LSU head coach Kim Mulkey as the winningest head coach in women's basketball in the Big 12. So that's another accomplishment that as well has presided with the ladies win in Lubbock. Yeah, I mentioned, winning 3 straight. 2 weeks ago, or even a week ago prior to the Cincinnati game, there was a worry that the women's team wouldn't even make the tournament, but now they've gone on and won 3 straight in pretty convincing fashion for the most part. Watching the Texas Tech game, Iowa State, they were just, I'd say the more like they just wanted it more. Those rebounds, those second chance points were pretty huge for Iowa State. And another thing that was huge for them was limiting turnovers. They had some turnover issues during the 2-week skid, but it looked like Iowa State, they did a really nice job. And Texas Tech, they tried to do a full court pressure, which had given Iowa State trouble in the past. But Jada Williams, to her credit, did a really good job at taking care of the basketball. I Bleav she finished the game with 0 turnovers and 9 assists. So taking care of the basketball was really key for Iowa State.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this women's team on being the aggressor, and they've been doing that the last few games. I mean, one thing that I'm interested in seeing about this women's team is, are they going to be able to keep this up eventually when Addie Brown comes back? Because obviously you don't want to go back into with everybody being able to contribute off the bench now, it'll definitely have a much more balanced attack offensively. And I sort of wonder how it's going to go back when how they're going to respond when Addie Brown does get back into this lineup and give this offense or give this team some juice.
Yeah, I think for sure. I'm hoping obviously it doesn't take the 2 weeks it took to learn how to play without Addie Brown, but obviously with the return to Ariana Jackson, that was the huge piece. That was a huge piece in Iowa State's 3-game win streak, and obviously with the bench stepping up, you need to see that during Addie Brown, AJ's absence. But now I think with Addie Brown, like whenever she does come back, I think there's going to be less of like a learning curve, because like now like you know how to play without her, so it's like you have her play, like you know what you're getting out of Addie Brown, and then you add that her All-American level type of play to what you've seen out of the last few games for Iowa State. This is a team that I think the conversation is back to potentially hosting a few games in Ames. So the conversation is certainly there, and who knows, getting back to 500 is huge in conference play. And looking at the Big 12 schedule for ladies the rest of the way, this is going to look like a lot of these games are very winnable. And as long as you take care of business and then maybe you go to TCU and win there, you can find yourself hosting a few NCAA tournament games. This would be a team I certainly would not want to play against. If Iowa State was to be a lower seed, a higher seed, you probably wouldn't want to play this team at full strength.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them as a lower seed taking it and almost took Cameron Brink and Stanford to the brink out in Palo Alto. So really excited to see how this women's team finishes. All right, like we said, Cody, we are going to do a look into Colorado and K-State because the Colorado game is tonight and the K-State game is on Sunday. I have Evan Maya up, and we can take a look at their analytics. So we are gonna do that and take a look at what type of team we're facing.
Yeah, so Colorado, they come into the game 12 at the end of the year. They are 2-5 in the Big 12. But those 5 losses in conference, they've been competitive in all the games they've lost in. They almost beat Texas Tech. They only lost by 2 against the number 14th ranked Texas Tech. They did lose to Cincinnati by 9 points. Kept it a bit competitive for West Virginia. And then they were in the game against Kansas, and there was a point where maybe Colorado could pull off the upset. And then against UCF, they kept up with them for the most part. So Colorado has been pretty competitive in the Big 12. They just haven't been able, for one reason or another, to really get over the hump and find like a win. But yeah, this is probably going to be a Colorado team that maybe comes out, tries to really assert themselves because obviously they can keep you competitive. That's for certain. So the thing I look at for the most for Iowa State is to you're Iowa State. You're coming into this game as 16.5 point favorites. So ideally, what you want out of Iowa State, if you're Iowa State, you want to do what you've been doing the last couple games. You start out fast, you knock them out within the first 10 to 15 minutes, and you don't let them get anywhere close because that's what we saw in Stillwater, Oklahoma State. Iowa State got out to a 30-point lead at halftime and won by double digits.
Yeah, starting off fast is going to be key for Iowa State. I don't really think that there's a way. I honestly don't think that there's a way that they truly lose this game. And really the analytics here show it. You look at their offensive efficiency numbers the last few games. You see that they had a pretty good offensive efficiency, but their defensive efficiency was a 136 because they gave up 95 points. Then you see in the Kansas game is that their offensive efficiency was all right, and their defensive efficiency was pretty good, except that. So like basically, um, in offensive and defensive efficiency, the best that they looked was obviously against Utah, a lowly team, but against the tougher teams, that's usually when their offensive or defensive efficiency goes out the window. And obviously, you can see that with their um, top two players, their defensive Bayesian Bayesian ratings go down on the defensive side of the ball, which causes them about zero point 0.3 wins a game. So obviously, they're not really a good defensive team. I will say so. Being able to get inside the paint and getting Joshua Jefferson going, I think is going to be a key in this game for the Cyclones.
Yeah, and then there's going to be on the Colorado side of things. This is going to be a familiar face, Iowa State fans. Bang on Dak, great name. That's one of the best names in all of college basketball. But yeah, he's back. He's the 7 footer. I think Iowa State was able to really limit him and not allow him to really do too much. Right now on the year, plays like he's shooting 46% of the field. It's about 75% from the free throw line, but he does get about 7.5 rebounds per game and 2 assists while scoring in double digits. So that's kind of the season average that he has. So he's a guy that I think Colorado will want in order to establish some level of inside presence. And then another guy I look to is Barrington Hargress, the junior transfer for Colorado out of UC Riverside. He's shooting at 53% from three on the year, scoring about 14 points per game. So he's a guy that I look towards maybe as a guy who could like use his errors, but uh, looking at that 3 point percentage, it's not high volume. He doesn't shoot that many threes up to this point this year. He's only taken 56 threes. So that percentage is similar to Milan Momcilovic, but Milan is shooting at a much higher volume than Hargress. Hargress is probably not going to take as many threes. That if it's like the percentage looks good on paper, but because of the low volume, you're probably not going to see him shoot too many threes. The main guy I look towards on the Colorado side is Isaiah Johnson, who is a freshman guard for Colorado. He shoots about 42% from three, 83% from the free throw line, averages about 16 points per game, and he's put up double digit points in the last 5 games for Colorado. So he's going to probably be the main guy look to like that Iowa State will probably need to guard in this game tonight.
Definitely. You don't want to get him going. And one thing you don't want to give this team is hope. Obviously, Kansas survived in Boulder. Boulder is a tough place to play, even if they are a bad team. But this team it puts up a fight. I will tell you that. So we cannot afford to take this team lightly, and I expect the Cyclones to get this done.
Yeah, I think this is just a game where I mean you're coming back home like another home game. This is part of the stretch where like if you as Iowa State want to get to potentially a number one seed and keep yourself in contention for potential Big 12 regular season title or top four seed in Kansas City, this is the game you have to win because you just got to take care of business no matter what. This is just this stretch: Colorado, Kansas State, which we'll talk about a little bit later, Baylor, and then at TCU. I look at TCU as the toughest, but this 4 game stretch before you hit the gauntlet of the back of like your back end of the schedule, you want to prove that you are like actually like an actual contender for maybe a national title. You take care of business here. Like you just
Yes, I agree.
yeah, you do what you did at Oklahoma State in the first half. You get your offense going. You turn them over. You just don't let them like you basically don't let them in the game. And this would be something huge for. I mean, this is just a minor thing, but this would be pretty fun stat. I would say with a win tonight would be 4-0 against Colorado since Colorado rejoined the Big 12 because last year they went 3-0 like in Maui and then what was it, the 2 conference games
And then
in
Maui,
Big 12.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So 4-0 against Colorado since they rejoined the Big 12. That's just a fun little stat to have, but yeah, that is just something that you gotta just take care of. Like,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just on other Iowa State podcasts that I've listened to, I think everybody right now, and we talked about it on Monday's show, is just talking about like really just seeding right now. Like I think like you look at we're gonna take a look real quick at the hosting sites for the NCAA tournament. I think the key and that everybody is looking forward to is obviously like we love for us to be a 1 seed, but to be honest with you, like you have the key here, okay, first and second round would be Buffalo, Greenville, Oklahoma City, Portland, Tampa, Philly, San Diego, and St. Louis. And I know at least if we're in the Midwest bracket, it's probably going to be either Oklahoma City or St. Louis. And the only thing that we got to worry about is if Houston is also up there. Houston is probably the closest city. Oklahoma City is the closest city for Houston, and you also got to think about if Illinois is in the Midwest regional, you already know that that's basically going to be a home game if they go to St. Louis because that's they're not from St. Louis, and then they just be going straight to Chicago. So I mean, I feel like if we're in the Midwest bracket, it's probably going to be the idea. I think it's ideal for everybody, at least travel wise, would be St. Louis and then Chicago. That's what even if we were to like slide down to the 2 seed, because I mean, you look at UConn and then you look at Duke. I really don't see that many more losses for them. So I don't know. I mean, unless Arizona starts dropping games, like it
I mean,
I don't know. It's
yeah,
sort of like a hike up to a 1 seed at this
yeah.
point.
I think Arizona right now they are just a clear favorite to get the number one seed. I don't see them um, taking their foot off the gas anytime soon. I mean, they do have some decent game, like they do have some high marquee games. I think they got to go at Houston and then to Kansas. Those are going to be the games to look out for Arizona. If you're looking for them to maybe drop a game, it might be at either one of those sites outside, and then maybe Iowa State can come into Tucson and beat them. Iowa State team is better built because I mean, and the game
I
plan we
agree.
had for Arizona last year well, it was a pretty good game plan. We were right there in the game until Caleb Love hits that infamous shot. But I think this this is a bit like that's a better Arizona team, but this I think is a better Iowa State team. And if we play a similar game plan to what we did last year, and then maybe make some tweaks here and there, I think Iowa State could go into Tucson and win. Um, I'll knock on wood, like I'll probably bookmark that. But just Arizona right now, they're the clear like number one overall team. I don't see them dropping any games. And then the fight for the rest of the number one seeds. I mean, Nebraska dropped. They dropped again to Michigan, so that can help. That does solidify
Hmm.
Michigan, but that does help. And then I feel like with Duke and UConn, the leagues they're in right now, UConn especially, the Big East isn't like I don't know if there's a team that can really compete against it. Well, can really give UConn fits. I think there is, but I have to look at more. But then Duke is the clear favorite in the ACC outside of maybe NC State and North Carolina, I don't see an ACC squad that can really catch up to the level of Duke.
Yeah, Duke is on another level again this year. John Shire has some boys playing well once again. And honestly, yeah, I like yeah, Duke is probably going to be the East, and UConn's probably going to be the South, probably.
Yeah,
Or
because
actually,
you would
no, Duke would
no,
probably be the South, and UConn would be East. That would actually make a lot more sense.
Yeah, because then Arizona would take the West, and then Michigan takes the Midwest.
Right.
All right,
So I guess
so
I guess for you, like let's say Iowa State, in an ideal world, Iowa State gets the number one seed. What bracket do you think would give them the shot to go to the Final Four? Like what region do you think?
definitely Midwest. If you can land like being in like Oklahoma City or St. Louis, yeah, that would be ideal. And then you head to Chicago, and then you're right there in Indianapolis for the Final Four. So either Oklahoma City or St. Louis for the first two rounds, and then Chicago for the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, and then yeah, that would be ideal.
I think that's what every like Cyclone fan is hoping for because just travel wise, like if you're trying to get like the most amount of fans, like the first two rounds are ideal, and then obviously for the Sweet 16 Elite Eight, like I definitely will be there because it's just like every time I always regret it on not going because obviously the last what two times
Mhm.
that we've played, no,
Yep.
three times actually that we played in Chicago. I haven't been able to go, and I'm vowing if we make it, which I think we should, as long as we get like the proper seating and we're in the Midwest bracket, if as will we make it this far, which I think we will, I think I definitely will be at the United Center cheering on the Cyclones. All right, now let's look at this the Farmageddon edition of the basketball edition of Farmageddon. Boy, it is definitely an understatement, Cody, to say that K State is an absolute mess right now.
Yeah, I don't think there enough words could be said to just how much of a mess Kansas State is currently. I mean, everybody's talking about Jerome Tang's buyout, and then now here's the Jerome Tang has had himself quite a career since he got the Kansas State job. Obviously, takes the team to the late eight in his first year with Dante Johnson and Naquan Tomlin. That was a great story. And then you had you had the whole speech or whatever. I don't remember which game it was, but he had that speech when he was staying in, I think it was on the scores table, and made that proclamation. Then you had the whole, I know you saw this, like, the whole Tangate thing. Remember, like when like Tangate came out, and this was like freshly like out of the Connor Stallions at Michigan situation. Had Jerome Tang basically say that Iowa State had some sort of relay system for his signals, and he would like he was cussing out TJ at the post game handshake, and then it comes out that Kansas State actually cursed out student manager. That's what TJ Alsberg said in his presser after Kansas, and then now you have basically what's been a middling at best Kansas State squad, and right now they're about 500 overall. And they only have one win in the conference this year, which was by 3 against Utah, who was also at the bottom of the conference. So, and then not only that, but now you have this latest addition to the Jerome Tang saga, where it was after what was it, after the latest game or something, where
Yeah.
he was asked about the current landscape of college basketball. Yeah, this is after the loss to West Virginia earlier in the week. This is when he was asked about the current landscape of college basketball. He said he hasn't figured it out yet, but they keep changing the rules on me. And then he mentioned there are 3 guys that should be on his roster, but are not on his roster right now because of the rule change. And then he goes on to talk about like they basically blaming the NCAA for this entire situation.
Yeah, he's not taking accountability. Sounds just and it sounds like it's just like a whole escapist thing. And I know like K State fans are already just tired of him. like, but I genuinely don't think that there's really nothing that you can do unless like the boosters scrape up 19 million for the buyout. But obviously, you don't want to touch any of the other money that was just going to be going to the football team and when Colin Klein is going into his first year. I'm not gonna lie though, um, it brings me joy. The fact because remember after all this stuff came out, remember when K State fans were standing 10 toes on all of this stuff, like saying that like we were racist and then like making up all these false
It was
accusations
his
and all that.
it was his I think it was his sister said the people in Iowa are terrible people. Called him said we were racist, we're saying slurs, throwing stuff at the K State bench, and they kept changing the story of what it was because I think it wasn't even all together sequence. They kept changing what was happening.
Yeah, man. And then just the whole situation last year where they came in and then beat us, and then yeah. But hey, the second time when we went to the Octagon of Gloom, as I like to call it, Keyshawn had the belt, and then that was all.
Yep. And yeah, real quick, I need to like get something up personally. I since that game in Hilton where we got absolutely destroyed, I've hated Brendan Hassan. That was the day I hated that dude. He would just talk the most yappity shit on the bench, and then he basically flopped around all over the place, and he got the benefit of the whistle. He didn't even shoot that well from the field. He was only like 2 of 5, but he went 9 of 9 from the free throw line, and he acted like he did something big when I think it was what maybe Coleman Hawkins. That was the main guy, I think, that day. And then he proceeds to absolutely crap his own pants in the return game in his building. And then he somehow ends up at Iowa. And all the Iowa State fans are like, you got to be serious. They got, of all guys they could have brought in, they brought in this dude. I knew me and my close buddies were talking like, oh, you serious? They had to bring in this guy. And then going into Cyhawk, I think it was Chris Hassel mentioned like, yeah, the last time Brendan Hassan was in Hilton Coliseum, he lit up Iowa State. And what did Brendan Hassan do in the Cy game? Spent 39 yeah,
Nothing.
he spent 39 minutes sitting on the bench. He spent basically the entire first half yapping at me and my friends in the student section. We were right next to him because he was in the last chair right before you get off the court, and then there's a student section right there. So he was just yapping us the entire time. And then he gets on the court for like 4 minutes, and all he does is just chuck up an air ball like he thought it was Curtis Jones.
Man, yeah.
I've been praying on his downfall ever since then, every single day, twice on Sundays.
Hey, it's personal, bro. They don't like us. We don't like them.
Mhm.
Obviously, like, what are you looking at? Because obviously, the guy that stands out to me, and I know that stands out to you, is PJ Haggerty. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot let him get going
PJ
at all.
Haggerty is literally the only reason Jerome Tang, I think, still has a job. He's the
Yes.
only reason. I don't know who outside of him is really doing significant numbers for Kansas State. PJ Haggerty is literally like his back has to be broken trying to carry this Kansas State squad. I just nothing comes out like speaks out to me for Kansas State outside of PJ Haggerty.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I'm
I'm
trying
looking
to
at the
look
I'm
and
looking at the
think
preview on
other people.
ESPN. He literally is the entire squad. He leads the team in points, rebounds, and assists.
PJ Haggerty, PJ Haggerty, PJ Haggerty, PJ Haggerty. That's basically
Yeah,
what it is. That's what it sounds like.
yeah, and like I know for sure Kansas State. Like I want to believe they're going to get up for this, and I guarantee you they're going to get up for this. Obviously, Iowa State, but I think I might have said that about the Sunflower State Showdown. What do? They got pants to buy a Darren Peterson list team by Melvin Council Jr. and Floyd Badunga
Yeah,
in their own building.
I
They
mean,
got pants.
I think the key for us, Cody, is just showing that we cannot let them play around. Don't play around. Don't play with your food in this game. Get what you need to get done, and you'll get your results. Obviously, I think we win both these games pretty handily, and then we go in the next week and we have our bye week. Going into our bye week, and then we have Baylor next Saturday. It's gonna be a minute before we get back on these airwaves again. But before that happens, we are going to take a look across the Big 12.
Yeah, so obviously the big game that was within the Big 12 was the big Monday game between Arizona and BYU. You were looking at that matchup. That was going to be a kind of that was the I think that's been and that was I will say it didn't look like one of the best games on the slate for like 90% of it, but man, that last 5 minutes it made that made into an instant classic. That last 5 minutes of the game was nuts. Whether part of it was like BYU's like able to like find a spark and or the officiating, we'll leave that to debate. But AJ Devansta led the way for BYU with 24 points. He shot yeah 11 of 16 for the free throw line. Behind him was Richie Saunders with 18 points and Kennard Davis Jr. with 15. But I think the main story of this game was Braden Burries, 29 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and had a huge crucial block. BYU, they Arizona was up, I think, what 15 with about 5 minutes to go. They cut
Mm-hmm.
the lead to 1, and then you have a play for Robert Wright the third, and maybe it's just in hindsight, but probably should have drawn enough for AJ Devansta. Robert Wright drives, but Braden Burry comes out of nowhere and blocks it from behind, and Arizona is able to escape Provo with a massive win to stay undefeated.
That's probably one of the best wins of the year. Arizona is a wagon right now. See, obviously, like just for seeding wise, Arizona's probably going to be the number one overall seed.
Yeah. I think if you were like Iowa State's position, you probably want Arizona to win just so because clearly
Yeah,
they're going to win, so you want them to keep on going. But one thing that's random too, Arizona, they just came out, I think it was today or yesterday. Arizona got featured on the Slam U magazine again.
interesting.
Yeah. I saw it earlier today. I'm like, oh, welcome back, Arizona. They are once again on the Slam U magazine. So that
Yep,
was
back on the Slam magazine and just like really just back into not saying that they weren't relevant before, but like back into like national relevance that like they're actually like, being a top team and
yeah.
actually have a chance
Yeah.
and being a national championship
Mhm.
caliber type of team.
Yep, and the cover for this Arizona edition Slam U features Braden Burries, we mentioned Jaden Bradley, who also put in a really good game, and Cole Pete.
Okay, here I will stop sharing my screen so we can see it.
So yeah, so they call it like this is what they call it. They called it the heat check.
Oh, that's dope. I like that.
hmm And then there's the clothing right there. So
Nice.
yeah, shirts in black, got it in Arizona blue, and then you got the cream t-shirts. They also have long sleeve versions that also it looks like an off-white hood, and then you have individual players as well.
Nice.
So really, if I was an Arizona fan, I'd probably would break my bank account getting that.
Yeah, I definitely would be bringing my favorite kind of house in Arizona fan.
There. All right. Well, we go back because there was some more Big 12 games other than that Arizona BYU game. I mean, yeah, that took a lot of the headlines. I think I was watching Sports Center like just right after. It took me a minute to be able to fall asleep after watching that.
I'm saying, man. Um, but we did have some Tuesday night action. We had UCF going on the road, getting another big win as UCF continues their great season, winning 79-76, and K State drops another one where they had the lead, and I think they were up five with 3 minutes left or 4 minutes left, and West Virginia went on a 9-0 run to win this game.
No, yeah, Nike, Kansas State started off pretty hot. They had a 10-2 lead. They held West Virginia to 2 points in about 7 minutes.
Wow.
So they were up 10, like they got out to a 10-2 start. I was like, okay, this might be just a low scoring game. It's going to be a lot of defense. But then, yeah, West Virginia just pours it on to Kansas State. Kansas State does make a comeback effort. They were up 4 with about 3.5 to go, but we're not able to hold on to it. UC, I think that came down to literally the last like few seconds. Arizona State was up 2 with about 119 to go. Carmelo Pacheco makes a huge three to put UCF up 1, and then and then just they were able to just get it out. But that was a really tight game in Orlando. Huge win for
Yes.
UCF, and if you're in the Big 12, you're hoping to get another team in outside of the top 6. You got to hope that UCF continues to take care of business.
Yeah, because if I saw the projections correctly, it looks like they're going to be in 8 seed, so they'd definitely be in the 8-9 game. So definitely, I think they'd be a really really good 8 seed. So that's probably what they're going to be projected at. So hopefully they can keep this going. All right, we're gonna go and look at yesterday's results. There are 2 games also yesterday. Houston gets a hard fought win on the road in Fort Worth, 79-70. Kingston Fleming's the high point man with 27 points. And then Cincinnati gets a big win at home over Baylor by 10. Baba Miller with 18 points.
Well, at least Cincinnati can do something outside of beating a ranked Iowa State squad.
I swear, dude. Like, it was a good win for him.
Yeah, but I don't know how much this is going to do, but maybe, just maybe, this might be enough. I don't know. Just Baylor, they're off to this is probably the worst start they've had in the Big 12 in I don't know how many years, but 1-7 Baylor in the Big 12. That was not on my bingo card.
Me neither, dude. I think they said that this is their worst start in 20 years since the 2006 season. So it is getting to uh horrible levels down in Waco.
Yep. and then to their rivalry opponent TCU. TCU, they were in the bonus for like the last like 10 minutes because Houston was in pretty decent, like they were in foul trouble. But they were stuck on JoJo Tugler on four. You had Sacco off the bench for them with four. You made it Stark fouled out. But there was a point in time where TCU they cut the lead to two in the second half, but we just were not able to get the lead. They just could not be able to get a stop when they needed to, and part of that was, yeah, Kingston Flemings with his 27 points. But Emmanuel Sharp did put in 23. He was on with 10, but the free throws were really good for Houston this day. Where TCU were only 64% from the free throw line, Houston was 92% from the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the story for us, the Cyclones, to where we need to improve on our free throw shooting, where it costs us. Okay, and obviously we're gonna look at today's action. Obviously that. So we're gonna see if we have any Friday action. No Friday action. So we're gonna look at the 31st, of course. And obviously we have these games on the slate. I think probably the most exciting matchups. Obviously, we have college game day going to Lawrence as BYU takes on KU. We have Cincinnati going on the road to Fertitta to play Houston, and number 11 Texas Tech goes down to Addition Financial Arena in Orlando to play UCF. I know that Texas, a lot of people have UCF. Uh, they're taking UCF in the upset here. I'm not sure how confident I am in UCF, but I don't think that that's a bad pick for an
Yeah,
upset.
beating Kansas and then competing against Arizona the way they did in Orlando. Yeah, I think I like the chances for Central Florida to at least compete. I won't say whether they'll win the game or not, but I know Johnny Dawkins will have the Knights ready to go against Texas Tech. And looking at also, you have the duel in the desert. Arizona heads to Tempe to take on Arizona State. Baylor heads to Morgantown to take on West Virginia, and then Oklahoma State heads out to Salt Lake City to take on Utah. Yeah, you have all that, but yeah, the main highlight is going to be College Game Day in Lawrence. BYU for number 13 versus number 14. That's the main game. And then on Sunday, outside of the Iowa State, Kansas State game, TCU at Colorado. It's not too much, but yeah, I think a lot of the talk this weekend will probably be around BYU, Kansas.
Yeah. Um, I mean, like you look at these matchups, and obviously, you see all these. You definitely see all these matchups, and you look, hey, maybe some teams can start to take losses. Hey, Texas Tech loss would be huge for us in the grand scheme of conference race. See, Arizona losing would throw a wrench into everything, and then give everybody a chance to still win the regular season title. So, a lot of good basketball coming up. So make sure you guys are tuned in. All right, guys, we are going to end today's show. Thank you guys for tuning into the Believe in Iowa State podcast. First, before we go, a big thank you to FanDuel, our presenting sponsor. FanDuel's been great for us. Make sure it's not too early. It's to put in your Super Bowl parlays. Make sure you go scourge FanDuel to see what type of player prop bets they have. And that should be fun. Make sure to follow us on social media: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch. The Twitch handle is at Bleav in ISU 2025. You can find me, Tyler, on Twitter at SciTi Guy. Love talking ball, love talking anything with you. So hit me up. Hit up Cody on Twitter at Tierney's Burner, or just say hi to him if you're a college student that listens to this show, and he'll say hi to you on campus. All right, so that is going to be the end of today's show. For Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Vasilem,
this is the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.
go Cyclones.